Peace. Farmer Courtney here. Yesterday, somebody asked the question, hey, y'all remember DVDs? And I was laughing because I still watch a lot of DVDs when I watch things because rural living, presents some connectivity issues. And depending on if there's many people where you live rurally or not, it determines what your options are right now. So I definitely tap into DVDs. And as I was driving home from this area where we hit up the little local library, I was just noticing a whole new level of like what their materials are and things that they have. And so I was looking through the DVDs because I haven't been doing it in a while, but I have a podcast, and I was going to just read this because the show format is really specific. So each show is titled after a movie or TV show with some cultural, reference or familiarity, right? So then there's the body of the show that I talk about teaching about the teachings from my observations as a Caucasian woman who loves the messenger and the minister and bears witness to the mathematical theology of the Nation of Islam and connects things that aren't always connected and talked about, but it's highlighting agreement or reminders that I have been blessed to have in my life and gain some understanding about. I'll make a book recommendation because oftentimes these are a circle of thought, so throughout the day, I'll think about a reminder and say, oh, that storyline sparks a reminder of this from, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or this reminds me of something from the books and works of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, oh, look at that in Christianity or something in society. Like I'll just see an interconnection. That a book will come to mind of, oh, right, I had my mind seated to be open to this realization by a book, like that kind of thing. Children's book recommendation, because many people are homeschooling now, and we, have done that for years. And so now it's a little bit more useful, all these things that I've had in lists and things. I'll have a homeopathic remedy discussion in the show. It's not a homeopathic podcast per se, but because of the nature of homeopathy, how you have to be a very keen observer, you have to be kind of like a sleuth who is tenaciously making connections and putting it all together so you have a picture of the case so you can make recommendations and be helpful on the path, to bringing someone's wellness back to the fore. And so I'll talk about a remedy that's related in some way to, the feels or event or circumstances brought up in the discussion of the show, the movies, or both, and the books as well. I bring up an essential oil, so that I call that section like the anointing, and a song. There's always our soundtracks of our life, different things that come up, just like movies, and then that's pretty much it. And so when I was on my way home, I don't know if it's because like the color of my shirt reminded me. I was just thinking about, okay, what's topic of today's number 23 going to be? And I thought of, the whole Harry Potter series because I'm studying homeopathy formally. I'm exploring going to homeopathy school. So I have been invited into some prerequisite courses that are open to the public for free. And it's been a real exciting experience. Just I feel aligned with the teachers in the way that, they open up discussion and ignite thought. And with that theme of agreement, how they're helping fine tune and bring things in focus of the fullness of the different experiences that I've had, of knitting it together in a way that would be more useful to people and really helping me to view myself differently and properly in a way that has been very, very exciting. And so I had interviewed with them a couple years ago when my children were younger, and it was I was almost going to submit the application and get accepted and enroll in the school. And then I just felt like our children had just been not expelled or removed, like the option of the older children going to school had been removed because we live in New York State. And so I was looking at the timeline and just realistically thinking, I wasn't going to be able to do homeschooling of older grades, younger grades, having connectivity issues, and be able to, do all the things I had to do. So I felt like this is a little, truth out of season. I'm not quite ready to commit, but I'll stay in touch. So she told me in that, that they like to view their school as kind of like Hogwarts of the homeopathy world. And if you're not a fan of Harry Potter, just disregard what I'm talking about. But, in Harry Potter, there's the headmaster, right? So there's all these interconnected themes of how the headmaster, Dumbledore, in his impactful way is leading people. And I don't make this, analogy or comparison to sort of trivialize or minimize what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been in my life. But that, that's kind of like the top of the physical, like who you can have contact with on the physical plane, who's physically here. In their reality was Dumbledore. And even though they were able to access, like different planes and things in the storyline, it was still that relationship was shaping, right? And so because of the color of my shirt, it got me thinking like, all right, so if I'm going to be, reviving the podcast again and doing this again, what other relationships? And I immediately was thinking of Dead Poets Society, because right after they had removed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's accounts from Instagram and Facebook, I was thinking about, I got the idea for this podcast, and I grew up, watching tons of Robin Williams, whether it was his stand-up, Mork and Mindy, all his movies, everything. He resembled a happier version of what my father looks like, but my father, while having, my father did kind of look like him at like Good Will Hunting, where he wasn't shaved, but like an unshaved Robin Williams is kind of like what my father looks like. But they were on the opposite side of the tone spectrum, is that my father was really kind of a curmudgeon-y, real serious, dry sense of humor Irishman without that like warmth and radiance and and things that Robin Williams had. They both had, quick wit and things like that. I shouldn't say had. They both, my father's, still alive. And so anyway, because I didn't have a deep connection in like my father worked really long and strange hours. He wasn't around all the time. There was this weird thing, and I do not think it's unique to me, but maybe it was exaggerated because I was an only child and because I just always had this seeking, this tenacity. I would look at things in a more sleuth-like manner, like a seeking, a searching way. And I just looking for my my charger, because of course my battery life is going down. But anyway, sometimes that makes a great video. Like I overly connected, not so much with the people. Like I was never a follower of stars, like private lives and like all that kind of stuff. But I could appreciate the thought, like the spark that they would bring with whether it was like characters or storyline or something. I did appreciate that. So, when they removed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from Instagram, I had that moment. If you've seen Dead Poets Society, I'm kind of giving like, I have a whole podcast describing and leaning on that whole format that I just described. But, I was like just thinking, okay, I did my video where I just like told off Facebook and Instagram as if, anybody would see it in like Zuck's office or anything like that. I don't know. But I felt like I had to do something. So it was like that moment in Dead Poets Society where like Ethan Hawke gets up on the desk and like, salutes him as he's leaving and being expelled, because he was like the biggest representation of truthful education that those boys in their, prep school had ever had the privilege of tapping into that current. And I was feeling the same way. And I did have a little children's desk, being a homeschooler, I did have a children's desk that I could actually stand on. And I was wearing a skirt that was this color, and it's corduroy, and it also has like this spiral sewn on three sides of it. And that was always kind of how I felt about the teachings also, was like I would be walking and then feel like I had some kind of understanding, and then reach the next part of the spiral and kind of be like, actually, I'm so ignorant, I don't know anything. And then I would get to another point in the circle and realize the points of agreement and be like, oh, those things are all connected. Like I see how the teachings are a fulfillment of this or that, or these foggy things that haven't really been in focus. Like this is what was promised, right? This is what all of these things indicate and point to, and that the Nation of Islam, while most people, especially in my background and reality, absolutely reject because the language was not the prescription for them, I could really recognize the essence of what was being taught. And because it was so not for me and wasn't not that it wasn't for me, but like the prescription was not aligned with what I had, my illnesses and my wrong thoughts and things, but it did have an effect, especially because the people who were meant to receive that prescription, that like healing remedy of a word through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they then, in their renewed state, were able to, continue that remedy, that line, that medicinal healing of the mind and thoughts and academics and just all of these things. It was like, a dam burst open, and suddenly, like, if you were seeking it and tapped into it, like there was just a flood of all this information. So I definitely benefited from the prescription. And while I was confused because I didn't know how to necessarily articulate all that I was saying, and seeing and making connections with, I really did feel like this isn't something that I'm going to be able to just let go and, and leave alone, kind of thing. And if I do, that I'll regret it, for the rest of my life. And so that was the one, similarly, that scene with the Dead Poets Society, and I'm laughing because to me it's so interesting. Look at God, right? Look at Allah. Like, I could be watching, and granted it's kind of a an emotional, dramatic movie, but that even then I'm like, I can't get away. Like, I just see the teachings, and not that I'm trying to, but it's like a confirmation, right? That it kind of like the sunflower is, throughout the day tracks with the sun and is turning, is looking, is seeking. So it's almost like whatever I'm interacting with, that God is turning me. All right, well, I got to get into study group. So day 23 of my 67 posts of appreciation for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you for joining me. If you like this video, thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, until next time, peace.